Welcome back, 5th grade. Today's lesson is going to have two videos, one on prisms and one on pyramids. Now, I'm sure you've had these before. I know I went over this in 2nd grade when I worked with a lot of you. Quick refresher. Polyhedron is just a fancy way to say a 3D shape. All the polygons you've seen up to this point were 2D shapes. Well, these have 3D now. And you can find more about that over here. We're not going to be doing volume today. We're just going to be naming prisms and pyramids. One way I like to name my prisms is I look at the shape. I know a prism is made up of a lot of rectangles and sometimes two other polygons. So if we look at this one, I see a rectangle here. I see a rectangle here. And I even see a rectangle way in the back. So there's my 3 rectangles. Now, what's the other polygon that's present? Well, there's 2. There's the triangle here, and there's the triangle down here. So, my bases are the same. They're congruent triangle. My lateral faces are the rectangles. In a prism, your lateral faces will usually be rectangles. I said usually. There is an exception. Your bases will be a different type of polygon. It doesn't mean it can't be a rectangle. So, we name our prism by the polygon that's not a rectangle. So, in this case, I have all rectangles for my lateral faces. My top is a triangle, my bottom is a triangle. Therefore, it is a triangular prism. Well, Mr. Litz, what if everything's a rectangle? My lateral faces are rectangles, my bases are rectangles. Okay, no problem. We have something called a rectangular prism. That's right here. Base. If you look at the shapes, I have a big rectangle on my bottom here. I have a same size rectangle on the top. And I have one here, one in the front, one in the back. You can see all of them. Every shape I see is a rectangle. For my lateral faces, one side, front, side, back, those are my lateral faces. They're all rectangles. The top is a rectangle, the bottom is a rectangle. So my base shape is a rectangle. All my lateral faces are rectangles, so it's a rectangular prism. Right there. Look what we have here. Look at your lateral faces. They're all rectangles. Think of these as boxes that come to your house. Whether Amazon brings them, you buy them at the store, you get them from somewhere else. Prisms are boxes. That's the everyday use of these prisms. When I think of a triangular prism, I think of a tent. If you're camping in the woods, an old-fashioned tent. Here, this is a box that comes to my house almost every day thanks to my wife from Amazon. Now, I don't really ever see boxes like this. I'm sure they exist. I don't get a chance to see them. Well, all of my lateral faces are rectangles. What shape do you see here for the top and the bottom? Let's count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five-sided figure. That's my base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is it? It's a pentagon. So I say pentagonal, or it's a pentagon. So what type of figure is it? A pentagonal prism. Kind of messed up here. They just want the word pentagon. The base shape is a pentagon, so it's a pentagonal prism. All right, going on to my last two. Look at your lateral faces. A lot of rectangles. Just so you know that these dotted lines, whenever you see them, they're supposed to be invisible, which means if you had this shape in front of you, you wouldn't be able to see it, but the math book shows it with dotted lines. All of my faces are rectangles, or my lateral faces are rectangles, so I know it's a prism. What type of prism? Look at your base, or look at the polygon that you see that's not a rectangle. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is a six-sided figure called? It's called a hexagon. So you can go over here and look and see. It's a hexagonal prism. Last one. What's the base shape? I'm sure you caught on right now that all of these are rectangles. So it's a prism. What kind? Let's count the bottom or the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. An 8-sided figure is called an octagon. Name the solid figure. You got it. Octagonal prism. Now, I did mention earlier, most of the time, our faces will all be rectangles. There's one instance where it's not. There's one instance when all of the lateral faces and the bases are the same. And it's a pretty common box that you can see in stores or gets shipped to your house. And that's what this question is talking about right here. What special prism has congruent squares for bases and lateral faces? And it's called a cube. Okay, real quick, review of what is a prism. Prisms, all their faces are rectangles, and usually there's two different shapes on the top and the bottom, and that's how we name them. We take those two different shapes, we name them, we kind of put the ending on wherever you see, pentagonal, hexagonal, octagonal, decagonal, heptagonal, nonagonal, or triangular, rectangular, and put the word prism next to it. Okay, this video is over. We're going to talk about pyramids in our next video. Stay tuned. or actually click over.